Good evening, everybody. How are you all doing? Oh, I should probably bring up my microphone. I was trying to get something set up and I forgot all about my mic. I hope you can all hear me despite this. All right, let's bring this up. I just realized it right now. All right. Who have I got tuning in here? Nobody. Anyway, we're just getting started anyways. So first of all, I'm coming at you in 1080p because I accidentally renewed my subscription to this. I had canceled my subscription to Talk Studio because it's too bloody expensive. Canadian, it comes to over $26 a month. And it's over $250 a year if you buy the 1-year package. And I was looking at it, hoping to maybe just get Talk Studio, but I accidentally clicked on something by mistake, and it was just like, you've been renewed. So anyways, it's just for the month, and depending on what happens in through the month of December and into January, maybe I might renew it again. I'll have a look. If things are ramping up and going by January, I'll pick it up again. But if not, we'll probably cancel it for a little while, and I'll just use Streamlabs OBS. I'll use for standard streaming. It works well enough. It's just I can't have guests on in that version. If I need guests, maybe I'll come back to Talk Studio. Anyways, that's how that's going to work. I did a little video this afternoon. I edited it really quickly and threw it up, and it's partly why I'm a little late today is because it took a long time to edit that properly. It's hard for me to do videos. I keep fumbling on my words, and when I'm doing a video and I'm standing here, I'm looking at the camera, I know in my head exactly what to say. I've thought everything right through in my head. In some cases, I don't even need a script or a point form thing. And even if I did, it wouldn't make a huge difference because as soon as I turn on record and I start talking, I draw a complete blank. Even if I have notes or a script or something up in front of me, for some reason, my eyes kind of lose what I'm looking at and I draw a blank. And I'm sitting there going, I've been trying this on and off for 10 years, even though I only have a few videos up on my channel. I've been trying doing YouTube on and off for 10 years. I just didn't do it consistently enough to make it take off. And I'm just not YouTube material anyways. People like young, good-looking, outgoing people, and I'm just not that kind of personality for that people will tune into, and I tend to sort of fumble on my words, and so that's why I had to go in and edit that video, because there's too many breaks. So I have to stop, recompose myself, and continue. And in those moments, I have to edit them together. And you can see that actually just even doing a live stream. There's moments where I know exactly what I want to say. The words are all in my head. Everything's right here, and then as soon as I go to say something, or as soon as I start down that train of thought, I know where I need to go. I can say, start with this, and I need to make this point and get here. Somewhere there's a break, and you lose it, and you have to come back online and continue. But I do like doing live streams. I really enjoy it a lot. Why I wanted to do this tonight? Well, it's Wednesday night. I want to get back into the habit of doing Art Bloque. I'm only going to be able to do it for another 4 more weeks. And then on the 23rd, I am going to visit my aunt in Bowmanville, Ontario, which is east of Toronto, going sort of up the lake. It's the train. I take the GO train in. It's a good 2-hour trip. But I'm going to be going there for about a week and a half. So I'll probably end up having to take 2 Wednesdays off. Other than that, I want to get started on Art Blocking and get this going every Wednesday night. And so once I do get this going, well, let me back up a little bit. Normally, Enrique comes on here with me, and you'll see him quite frequently. And I want to get a little more structure going because he comes on, and we usually just shoot the shit and chat back and forth and talk about stuff. He talks about vacations and whatnot, but I'd really like to kind of make it a little more focused on art. And he can only come on. He can't come on every Wednesday. He's usually on every third Wednesday. And so we were doing it every third Wednesday, but I really wanted to make it every week just to make it consistent so people could know that Wednesday night, that's Art Bloque. And even the time, I've got to make the time more consistent, even though he can only come on later. So I know I have a lot of friends, and I've talked to all my friends about this, the fact that I would like to start bringing in guests. And I've talked about this for a while. I even know one possible celebrity guest, and I've talked about this before. Yes, a celebrity guest who's an artist. I need to talk to her. I need to talk with more. I might possibly get somebody kind of real special on, and maybe I'll aim for that in January, February. That would be a real cool night. I'll talk about that later because I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. You might say no. So, but even if that's the case, I know you grow up in the art world and you get to know a lot of art people. And I know enough people and talk to enough people. I think each Wednesday, I could probably have a guest on. Worst comes to worst, if they can't be on a Wednesday, we can either record it another night and I can put it up as a broadcast or as a broadcast as a pre-recorded video, or you might just hold it on a different night. I might have something else special. So yeah, so that's what I want to start up in January, is get the Wednesdays consistent, get proper themes going on this thing, and make it consistent in such a way that people know that, hey, Wednesday night, at whether it's at 11 o'clock or 10:30, I'd like to try and make it earlier, that they know they can come on here. Phil's going to be on here, and he's going to be interviewing artists and perhaps bring a little inspiration into the world. I know, and a couple of my friends have even agreed to coming on more than once. So, we could make a thing where one friend said, it could be on like once a month or something. So if Enriquez can't do one night, somebody else another night, etc. We'll see how it plays out. I don't want to make it overly regimented, but I do want to make it as consistent as possible. So there is that. And then Saturdays, I don't want to say too much because I've got something in mind for Saturdays. I know it's going to come together. I don't want to say too much. I have a really fun idea I'd like to do, but there's a lot kind of hinging on it. It might end up costing a bit of money to do it properly because it'll involve using a bit of music that is copyrighted, and I need to see if I can use it. It's just little bits of music, but it doesn't matter. You use just a tiny bit and they'll ding you for it. Now, if it's just a matter of them saying, okay, well, if you can use it but you can't monetize your channel, that's fine. You don't get a mod for that anyways, and there's other ways to monetize your channel. You don't have to use Google AdSense. So if I don't get, and I'm not even at the point of being able to be monetized yet anyways, but if I reach that point that I can be monetized, I won't be able to make any money off Google AdSense, but there are other ways you can actually monetize your channel. So if that's just the case, then that's fine. I just really like to be able to use the music. The other thing is I don't want to say too much. By the way, I've noticed I've got a couple of viewers, and if you're there, please say hello. Type in the chat, say hello. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what brought you here. Yeah, I'm all over the place. You'd think I'd have like ADHD or something. Jim, actually one of the few people who don't have it. You wouldn't know that by tonight, but a lot of people I know say I have ADHD, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like one of the few people that don't. OCD, maybe, not ADHD. So anyway, Saturdays, I need to see if I can get, if I can stream certain public domain videos or movies, something that doesn't have, that has no ownership and you can't get dinged for. There are a lot of free movies on YouTube that are public domain, so nobody owns them. They're free, but can I stream it on my show? And if I can do that, that would be a huge thing that would make my channel. Right now, I'm looking into shorts, some really old shorts from the 50s and 60s, years ago, where they used to have, before the ages of like television, they used to put these in theaters, or they used to play these in schools. They were educational films about, how to dress up properly for a date and things like this. And it'd be funny to play these. They're very short, they're not long, but and they're quite laughable. I thought I could do something with this, a little bit kind of MST3K-ish, if you will. Especially the shorts would be a lot of fun. But the idea, though, for Saturday is that it would be a whole afternoon. So even if I have a movie, I can come in, do some announcements, play a video, and also do some drawing demos as well as part of the afternoon program. And that would be kind of my Saturday afternoon mad theater kind of thing. I would really like to do this a lot. Am I coming through? I never thought. I should check my audio levels. Please tell me I'm not muted. I just realized now, because if I have been, oh, I'm on the wrong. I was just on the wrong speaker. Now I'm on the proper speaker. I hope that sounds okay. There we go. I bet that sounded terrible for the first little while. I'm going to have to test that after. So anyways, that's kind of the plan for January for the channel, and plus maybe one extra video through the week as a pre-recorded video. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for that yet. I have a few ideas. So the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight is, as everybody has seen, because it's all over the YouTubes and all over the interwebs, that Procreate Dreams just dropped this week finally. And it's all everybody's been talking about, especially in the art industry. Even if you're not an animator, this thing is going to open up a lot of windows. I've been watching a lot of videos on it. I've heard most people rave about it. Few people who don't like it and complain about it, but it is just a new program. It is just dropped. You're going to see updates and new stuff added to it very quickly, very soon. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I think most people who watch this are. Procreate is a program specifically designed for the iPad. It was created in Australia. The developers are located in Australia. They had an idea for an art program specifically for the iPad that works with the Apple Pencil. And it took off. Part of what made it really special was losing my voice. I'm sorry. Part of what made it really special was the simplified interface. Because if you think of art programs for the desktop, they're big programs like Photoshop and Affinity and Clip Studio that has all this stuff across the top and down the sides, and you got. So they found a way of taking all that and sort of pushing it, because an iPad is only so big. You only have like 10 inches, give or take, depending on which one you have. The smallest one is 7, and the largest one is 12.9. So they found a way of taking all the big key features that artists like to use, fitting it down to this program, but hiding all those little things under the hood, so it gives you as much drawing space as possible on your screen. And it's so nice because you can just tap, you can open it, and you can start drawing. And you see all the little things at the top and the sides, and there's just a few, and the quick, simple ones. And if you need it to do more, you click on it, and it would open up another menu at the top, etc., so forth. So they were the ones who really, I mean, people were doing it beforehand, but Procreate somehow caught on, and they kind of did it best. Although the program is missing a lot, there's been a lot of new programs since that probably can do more. Well, they do a lot more, like Adobe Fresco. A lot of people are jumping on that. Infinite Painter is quite impressive, as well as Affinity for iPad. It's quite impressive. So and Clip Studio for iPad, that's the whole thing combined down onto iPad, but it makes all the tools and everything very, very small because the whole desktop program power right down for an iPad. But Procreate still to this day, I think, did it best by what they did with their interface. Infinite Painter is probably a close second in my book. And they just don't get enough love. They're about the same price. They're like $10 US American, I think. I forget Canadian, probably 13, 14. I have it. I don't use it often enough. There's a lot in that program, and it can do a lot. It's missing some things. For some weird reason, there's no text feature. You can't add text. Why, I don't know. But if you're just doing art, if you're painting, drawing, it's a fantastic program. And believe me, it's far more involved than Clip Studio. That's for sure. Or sorry, it's far more involved than Procreate. That's for sure. Clip Studio, the other thing. But for weirdly, they don't add text. And the one thing most of these alt programs don't do for some reason is still stroking a selection. And I don't know why. Clip Studio for iPad and Affinity for iPad are the only two that I know that do that so far. And I don't know why they won't do it. It's extraordinarily frustrating, and I wish they would do it. Yeah, so I wanted to, I've tried to hook up my iPad so that I could demonstrate it. And I haven't been able to figure out how to connect it through yet. It doesn't seem to want, when I plug it into the computer and I try to go share a screen, it doesn't detect it. Yeah, unfortunately, it does not detect it. I can open this up through Streamlabs, but you're going to see the Streamlabs interface. So I can, I'm going to open this up now. I want to talk a bit about this. I want to talk about Affinity, because Affinity Photo, or the Affinity Suite is something really unique to talk about. I'm just going to show you Procreate Dreams a little bit for just a moment here. Let me see if I can get the share up. Here we go. So again, I apologize. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit bigger. You're gonna, you'll have to tolerate the. I can't get rid of this. One moment here. There we go. You'll have to tolerate all this stuff around it. Unfortunately, I can't figure out how to broadcast just this through Talk Studio. If I had just used why I can't do that anymore. If I had gone through just Streamlabs, I probably could have done it, but I wanted to open this up so I could. It's just easier to use this. Unfortunately, I have one person. Probably when I end, people will jump in. That's what usually happens. I'll be about 3/4 of the way through, and then somebody will jump in. Now you won't be able to see what I'm doing with my pencil or with the Apple Pencil or with my fingers because obviously the way this is set up. But I've got Procreate Dreams right here. So when you open this up, and hopefully you can see this all right. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because there's a gazillion demonstrations and tutorials that I am still going through because, man, this thing is confusing. So the only, first of all, there's, as you can see, there's these 3 color ones here that you're seeing across the screen here. These ones, they give you samples off the top so that you can open them up and have a look at how it's all set up, and you can kind of figure out from there. There's a lot of things that are kind of under the hood, and unless you actually watch a stream, something you might not see right away or might not find, because there's things you wouldn't think that are clickable that are, and I'll show you in a moment, because it's yeah, and some I've gone on to watch some demonstrations who just open the program and jump right into it. I'm like, oh, you just jumped over 5 steps at the beginning and people are going to be lost. So if you want to find a good demo, find one that goes right from the very start, so you know what your working screen is. If they skip the working screen, don't even bother with it. So anyways, you can see here on the left is your storage, your locations. You can put it on your iPad, and I also have it on my iPad. This is on my iPad, or sorry, my iCloud Drive, and you have on your iPad. I've done a couple of tests and something else I'm working on. These 3 color ones are just samples they give you. This was the very test. I was following along with somebody, but as you can see, it's just like a blinking eyes, right? So, and then I went on to do a bouncing ball, because and I wanted to see about putting text on it, and it's very frustrating adding text to it, by the way. But you can see here it's set up like an editing suite with your timelines down below, and you can separate all your different layers and different timelines. So you know, and of course you have the onion skin you can set up, and whoops, make sure that's lit up so that when it plays. And that was a bouncing ball I did. That's all. I know some people have already done like full color friggin' cartoons in like 3 days since this thing's been released, and I've done a bouncing ball. So there's that. I was trying to do a bit of a walk test, but it's that's all I've got right now at the moment, because I'm still playing with this a little bit. But you can go frame by frame, of course. Whoops. Anyways, there's a lot to figure out. As you can see, it also starts off screen. Like this one I've set up to do for the screen ratio of an iPhone. And I'm going to go back because you can set up for different screen sizes. Here's another bouncing ball, and it starts off screen. If I go into drawing mode, you can see here, you'll see it a little better. It starts off screen and comes through. This little square around the outside, that is the view screen. It's very, very faint to see, but if you can see that square, that's what, if you export it, that's what it'll be exported as in that. So you can start outside of your viewing screen and work your way through. So if you have a character walking through a screen, you can start them outside here where you see the ball is. And then you can, oops. It saves everything, eh? Like it saves. There's a little mark right there. It was driving me nuts. There. So anyways, let me go back out of this. I'm going to show you from the beginning here. I'm rambling away. So at the top you have select. You can select a piece that's in that you're working in, and the plus sign, you can start with a new screen, and you get some options. Hi Terry, how you doing? Thanks for hopping in. I'm doing a little demo here on the new Procreate Dreams new animation program that just dropped. So I'm actually just starting the demo. So here's you have different options. There's your widescreen, ultra widescreen. There's your social media for your phones and tablets, square, and just a standard screen size, I guess, for what they say as any device. And there's widescreen. I can start with the widescreen because I think this is 16 by 9. So this HD, if you tap on that, when I first got this, it actually says 4K, but if you tap on it, you have the option here, 720. I don't know if you can read that. HD, which is 1080p, 2K, and 4K, and it starts with 4K because I want to show off the fact they can do 4K. But it's a like that, you know, one little video, and you've filled up your iPad storage. So I went with HD for 1080p. You can go right into drawing mode or go into empty. So I'm trying to figure out really what the difference is, because if you open empty, then you can go into drawing mode. So I don't know why I do that, but I'm just going to click on empty. So you get a fresh blank screen, and you can go right into drawing right away. And here and you can see it turning red. There's your drawing mode. This is your view screen, so you can go back in to see your timeline underneath. The circle, the little gray circle next to it is for recording. And then, of course, that's your play button right there, so you can play through what you're animating. And so I'm going to go into draw mode. And again, you can see this, the light square, that is your what will be the viewing screen. That is your movie screen where people will view what they're looking at. And you can start with something outside of that, out here, right? And as soon as you start drawing something, you can already see it's making the timeline, right? Now, you want to start animating. Onion skin is really important because you want to be able to see through your paper levels, right? You want to see, so if I add another frame, you don't have to if you don't want to. Years ago, we actually used to use real paper when we flipped it. We sometimes didn't even turn the light on. They even encouraged us not to, so that we could not be so tight that we can kind of try and be loose, and you have to really use your eyes and perception to know where things are when it's moving. So, but that being said, see the little timer there on the left? This little timer right here, if you click on that, there's your onion skin. This is your staging options. So you've got show onion skin, right? So now you can start showing, and then you can edit the onion skin. You can choose the colors, the number of frames that you can see through, the number of levels, right? You can change that. And I put it all the way up to 8 because I'm lazy. And the opacity, which I like to leave it about 75%, just because they don't have to be. Did I just lose my camera? I think I just lost my camera. Please tell me I'm still coming through. What just happened? I know I'm still showing this. It shouldn't. It switched to, I don't know why it did that. Okay. Anyway, so there's your opacity. And at the top there, you can see backwards and forwards. Just above the colors, underneath where it says onion skin, there's backwards and forwards. So you can change the color. If you want to see the layers going forward, you're midway through your drawing. You can see your color will be orange, then going backwards, it'll be purple. And I'm working in black pencil. So that's kind of nice that you can kind of edit all that together. And your background color, you can change that too if I want to change it to black. Or transparent. You can make it completely transparent. So anyway, so there's that. And then you can see this. This is, if you're out of Procreate, you get your brush size and your brush opacity. So, and some of this looks familiar. Up in the upper right, there's, smudging tool, eraser, and then your layers. Your layers are the layers within that frame, not down below your, what's that? Oh, you like when I do this guy? Oh, where I'm doing demos? Yeah. I don't know if you'll ever buy Procreate Dreams, but at least you get an idea when it works. OBS logo. Yeah, I mean, at the upper right, that green, that actually is a C. It's my Chandler Arts logo. This is, I'm not using OBS. I'm using formal OBS. I'm using the Talk Studio Open Broadcasting. And why is it flashing orange like that? What does it mean? I'm getting like an orange outline, and I don't know why it was flashing. If something changes, let me know. If you're losing me or if you can't hear me or anything, please speak up and let me know right away, because this is acting really funky tonight and I don't know why, and it's really annoying me. I didn't want to spend a long time in this program because I want to jump over to Affinity shortly. I want to talk about that. But yeah, so when you have your layers, that layer is for this particular drawing. When I go to do the next frame, and I'll show you this in a minute. So if I go to the next frame, it'll just keep adding on that orange timeline. If I have a background, if I have another background layer, that'll make another timeline underneath. If I have another character that I need to animate separately, that'll make another time. You can add a whole bunch of them. It thinks I want to connect to OBS because I used to have the OBS program and I dumped it because it doesn't work properly with my Mac. So I dumped it, but it seems to keep thinking that I want to connect to it for some stupid reason. So here I'll show you what you can do, because this is pretty tight. If I have an iPad, I have the iPad and it's up on its side, right? So that's a pretty small drawing space. So you can see there's a little line in the middle of the screen, and you can drag that down. Now I got the full screen again, and I can pinch and zoom in and out, so I can bring this in since I'm starting off from the side. And this little flip book I can move around. Now the flip book, you can it'll add in another frame. So right now I've only got one drawing. So if I touch it, you'll see the little plus sign, and it'll give me my next sheet of paper right there. And you see that circle turned purple because that was my last drawing. So it's the onion skin coming into effect, right? And so it'll show the one behind it. And each drawing that I add on, that'll become a little more faint up until the 8th drawing, and then it'll disappear. So because as an animator, I'm used to working in keys. A lot of people just go drawing to drawing to drawing. I learned to kind of animate in keys. That's the way we done it years ago when we learned traditional animation, because I thought I was going to go work for Don Bluth Studios or Disney or some shit like that. So we learned keyframing animation. So my ball starts up there, and I want it to bounce down to the bottom, and I can just have it squash, because we squash and stretch in our animations. It goes, and it's going to follow this arc right here, right? So now if I want to figure out the drawing in between there, I can go back to this and add a plus sign. And now there's the squash one turned orangey yellow, and then I have the purple. So that's the one in front, that's the one in back, and I've got a blank sheet of paper in between, and I can draw that going zoom right there, and it's going to shoot across and squash, right? So, and it lands right in the middle because of where I've added it. So let's say I want to add one after the squash, have it bouncing back up. I can go to that last drawing, add a plus sign. Now I'm adding it. See, these are all underneath, and I can just really quickly go. I'm not too worried about volume or anything like that. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And I want to add now my last one up here, where it's retracts back to a normal ball. So there you can see the path of action, and I can actually go back in and in between all of these. I can go back to my first drawing. Let's say I want to add one drawing in between those first two, where the ball sits normal at the top left, or yeah, the top left and the first stretch. I can add one in between here, and I'm really in an awkward position trying to draw. And I can go back and add another one because it's a slow in, slow out. I can do that there, right? So you can see the more drawings, the slower it's going to move. So it's going to slow down and speed up and go boom. And now when I go to the end, go squash up here, and she's going to slow back up at the top. So I'll do another one in here. That's terrible. And we'll do one in between here where it begins to slowly start retracting to a normal ball, and it's really going to slow down here at the top as I start kind of in betweening here. And she's going to be really, really tight there. And there, so now that that's done, I can click way up in the upper right, I can click done, and now I can play this, and you can see what it's going to look like. And there it is. Boom. And it's on loop. Ta-da. Super easy. And I just did a bouncing ball. There's what my 4 years of education got me. So that's it. That is Procreate Dreams in a nutshell. There's a lot I still have to learn about this. I'm just still scratching the surface on this thing. There's a lot to learn. Like, this is such an involved program. There's a guy named Aaron Blaise who worked for Disney, and he was given what do you call it, the test beta version of it before they released it. He did this incredible short. Now, he worked for Disney. He worked on films like Brother Bear, and he's an incredible animator. Just blows my mind. If you get a chance to, he did a short 2-minute video of a little penguin. It's super cute. It's only a couple of minutes long. Full music, full color painted background, the whole works. If you get a chance, go find it. Maybe I'll try and link it in the video later on. just to give you an idea of what you can actually do with this thing, you can do full color, like Disney quality animation in this thing. You can add sound layers, sound effects. Depending on the volume of your iPad and how like your storage capacity, etc., you can have up to 30 or more timelines down the bottom. I'm going to stop. So that is Procreate Dreams, and in a nutshell. As I said, I still have a lot to learn about this myself, and I'm just going to close it out here. There we go. I can't even tell you how much there is to it. Sorry, somebody just sent me a message about something. Yeah, okay, wasn't important. Sorry. Distractions. Next thing I wanted to talk about is Affinity. I want to talk about Affinity Photo. Reason I did is I just kind of discovered it. I know. I love this thing. It started getting freaking cold outside, and my apartment is we don't have a thermostat, so we don't have a lot of control over our heat. It's radiator heat at the bottom, and because we have so much furniture in here and there's so many things, it covers the radiators, right? You don't get a lot of room for the heat to get out and circulate. So and even if it does, it doesn't get that warm in here. It gets bloody cold. I can get a heater. I can plug in a heater and then watch our hydro bill go through the roof. I'm trying to keep it down to like $50 a month, and as soon as I start, plugging in the heaters and that, it jumps up to it'll go up like $70-$80 or more a month. It's ridiculous. So I'm throwing on warm sweaters. This thing I've had for like 20-25 years, and I love it. It's warm, and I've always kind of been in love with this thing. So yeah, I know it's my hippie. I've got pictures of from years ago when I used to have like the full beard, my hair back in a ponytail, the hippie beads, the whole thing, and I'm wearing this. So yeah. Your lucky new place is relatively warm. Oh, nice. Yeah. Did you just move in a new place? I might have to have a new place. I don't know yet. There's a possibility we could lose this in the new year, which would really suck because that would throw a huge wrench into my life, and I don't need another one again. We just went through nonsense with bed bugs last year, and now, ugh. But I'm going to unplug my iPad out of this. There we go. Because I can switch over to something else here, and I can turn off. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Oh, okay. All right. So it's the same place. Okay. I'm going to close. Give me one moment. I'm just going to kind of get some things set up. I wanted to talk about Affinity Photo. Reason being is I kind of just discovered it. I heard of it, but really didn't know much about it. It was hard to keep warm. Yeah, that's like here. This place is hard to keep warm, and it cools off. If you have an air conditioner, this place cools down well. But yeah, it's like it's hard to keep warm. In the winter, you really feel it. The bedrooms at the back, really. I paid like $100 for a. It's an oil, what they call like those oil radiator heaters, those upright movable ones that radiates heat, as opposed to one of those that you turn on and blows heat, because those little electric heaters, those space heaters that blow the air, use a shit ton of electricity. And they jack your heating bill way up. But the radiator heater, I switch it on. It uses a lot less electricity. Still will push your bill up, but I put it in my room, plug it in, turn it on. It takes about a half hour or so for for it to eventually fill the whole room with heat. But if I keep my door closed, really reheats my bedroom up really nicely. And then I've heard that. Touch wood. They're dangerous because you can't use an extension cord with them. They tell you don't use an extension cord. And I thought, great, because all my outlets are like all tucked away behind things. So I had to unplug something to plug it in properly. Here, while we're talking, I'll just get this other program ready. So apparently, as long as you keep an eye on it and then you turn them down and you don't leave them alone. Don't walk out of your house and leave them plugged in and on. But I have mine on in my bedroom. You put it on high until it fills the whole room with heat. It takes about half an hour. And then I turn it way down low. And because once your room is heated and you keep your door closed, it'll stay heated. It'll stay overnight. And as long as I have it on low, it'll keep just enough bit of the heat coming off of it overnight that it'll keep the room warm. And like clockwork, no matter what time I go to bed, I can go to bed at like 4 a.m. About 7:30, I have to go up to use the bathroom. So when I get it up, I switch it right off. I'll use the bathroom. I'll keep open and close the door really quick. And then I'll switch it off because the way Burlington Hydro works, there's different tiers of how expensive it is during the day. So overnight, it's the cheapest. And then it's between 7:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. It's like the middle ground. So if I switch it off, the heat will stay in the room for a while so when I go back to bed, I'll switch it off. But then apparently for like 11, there's a period where it's like the most expensive. And I think it's like, I have to look it up again because I changed it. Anyways, you get the idea. There's different periods. So I try to switch it off so it's not on during like a more expensive time period. But the radiator though, they are easier on your electric bill though. It's still a heating device. It'll still make your place hot, but they're not as much as like a little electric space heater that blows the heat out. Those things just use up so much. If you turn that on, if say you're to have that in your bedroom and I mean, let's say you plug in a kettle, just for example, it'll blow your fuse. Use electricity when I need to. I'm pretty much the same. The only time I'm a little bit cautious about it is just if it is something like a heater. Losing my voice again. If it is something like a heater that I know is going to one night can push up your electric bill like $5 or $6 in one night. Like it's stupid. So that's if you use like a really like high-powered space heater, it can do that. So for the most part, I usually just kind of use what I need when I need it. But at certain points, if I know something is an energy hog, I'll try to be careful with it, like the heater. But Portland's more of a mouth. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We're getting into our really cold season, and it's been getting bloody cold right now. All right, I just want to see if I can bring up the program because I bought Affinity Photo for Black Friday because it was on like almost half price. And I dumped Photoshop. And I'm not using Designer yet until I learn about it. Might get it for the iPad because it's cheap. But Affinity Photo, wants to access iCloud. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to get it there. Thoughts? Thanks. We're Canadian. We're used to it every year. I was talking to Chris Runciman this afternoon a little bit about sharing stories about our winters years ago, especially in the 70s. Like, it's gotten milder, but 70s used to, in London, Ontario, that's like right in the snow belt. London, Ontario, if you look at southern Ontario, that little part that points down into the US, London, Ontario is smack dab in the middle of that between the lakes. And that's like the snow belt right through the middle of that. And we used to live there. And London, Ontario, boy, back in the 70s. I could tell you some stories about the snowstorms from hell that, especially in the more further up north you go, the colder it gets. And from 1974 to 77, we lived in Camp Borden. And I ended up in Alaska. Oh, you win. Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, I was going to say I remember living in Camp Borden, and we get hit with some snowstorms where we had to climb out the window in order to shovel out our front and back door. We get buried. I have pictures on April 1st, April Fool's Day. We got slammed with a snowstorm from hell, and it just unbelievable, just buried the city. Somehow we still all managed to get to work because we still had to go to work. We were dumb. I don't know why we decided to do that, but I can imagine living in Alaska. I'm already feeling it. I reached the point now that even though, we talk about being hardy Canadians and all that, and I'm like, you know what? I have arthritis in my knees now. My back hurts. I'm done with it. I'm like, bring on the global warming. I've had enough. I just want to set something up here. It snows in the city here, it shuts down. I've heard that in the US. I heard some areas that shut down. We get our summers, we get 40 degrees Celsius, which is 100 and something in Fahrenheit. I know when it gets really hot, like it gets humid. It's not just hot, it's gross and it's humid and sticky, and I hate it like that here how is that 16 by 9? Oh, there we go. I'm just getting something set up here on an Affinity photo. We get our summers like that. We go right to extremes. We go to these freaking cold winters to these hot, humid summers that are gross and everything in between. I'm right by the lake now here in Burlington, and we get these flash storms where you'll get a thunderstorm that comes through, and then it'll last like 5-10 minutes, and then bright sunlight for the rest of the day. Just like you'll watch the sky. It'll be a beautiful day out. You'll notice the sky gets kind of dark, and then about 10 minutes later, there's a huge thunderstorm and pours down rain for about 10 minutes, and then it's bright sunlight for the rest of the day. Weird, but it's been like that for years when you live off the lake. So it says I've got 2 people watching. I don't know who the other person is. I don't know if anyone's used Photoshop, actual real Photoshop. I had Photoshop for a few years, and they went up in price. For the very cheapest Adobe has this whole suite, Illustrator and all this, their editor and all this stuff. The very cheapest one for the very basic Photoshop, it has Photoshop and it comes with Lightroom together, Canadian, with our taxes added on, was $140 a year they would charge. And you are allowed one extra user on that. So I can share it with somebody and split it. Even then, it's like, so what, $70 between the two of you. That's really expensive. Actually, I think it's more than that. I think it's 150 something. It's really expensive. And that's yearly. Like, that's because Photoshop is now on a subscription base. So I thought, unless you're like really deep that you need it for like professional purposes and for with you're with a company or business, um, or you just want to show off the fact you have Photoshop, which is not that big of a deal because lots of programs do the same thing. I thought, I'm not paying that anymore. I've got Clip Studio, which is really cheap. It's now on a subscription base, kind of, but it's far cheaper. It's like $20 a year and then $10 for the upgrade. So what, $30 Canadian a year. That I can do. It used to be they owned it outright, but now they have this sort of subscription model, which is too bad, but at least it's not expensive. So Clip Studio is cheap. I have another one called Pixelmator Pro, which is specifically for the Mac. It's like $60 flat rate. That's all you pay. It's not yearly. But they have their version of Lightroom that's called Photomator. It's really good, actually. It's really, really good. But they charge on a subscription base for that for some stupid reason. But I have Pixelmator, though, which is kind of their basic Photoshop as a cross between Photoshop and Canva. I was looking at Canva, too. I like Canva, but they want like $120 a year. Screw that. This is too bad because you can add music and do a little bit of like some editing and that with it, which is really cool. But I was kind of perturbed when I saw the price they wanted for it. So I have Clip Studio Paint and I have Photomator. And I was looking for something else. I didn't like Krita. Krita is free. And it's a great program, but when I try to open it, it confuses the hell out of me. It's supposed to be simplified for artists, and I think it's a messy program, and I don't like it. Don't even get me started on GIMP. GIMP is crap. But I came across Affinity Photo, and I started looking it up online, and all these people, there's like all kinds of artists that are dropping Photoshop and going to Affinity because it's a flat rate. Canadian, it's there's three programs to it. There's Affinity Photo, which is their Photoshop, Affinity Designer, which is their answer to Illustrator, and then another one called Affinity Publisher. If you like to put together a magazine or a book or something that you need to publish, it's a great little publishing program, apparently. It looks really cool, but I'd never have any use for it, though. You can get all three Canadian for $230 flat. You own them, all the upgrades, everything. That's it. And I think if you want the versions for iPad, that actually includes the iPad if you buy them outright like that. Individually, you have to buy them separately. Then the iPads, I think, is like 25 Canadian. But they had the big Black Friday sale, and they were like 40% off. So it was like $60 for Affinity, flat, no subscription. $60, own it, done. And I got the iPad version because it was $14. And I'm looking at, and that's just Affinity Photo, and I'm looking at the Designer, which is their Illustrator, but it's a little confusing. So I'm not sure on it yet, but the sale ends Friday at midnight. I might get it just for the iPad. I don't know about Designer, but for Affinity Photo, I've got it for both. And I started watching these videos of people opening up and using it, and I was like, wow, this pretty much does everything. It's just a bit different. The way it does layers is a bit weird. If I'm coloring artwork, I find it a bit strange, but otherwise, like if I need to do some titling, if I need some sort of illustration done where I don't want to open up Clip Studio for what it does, but I just want something a little bit different that I can work. Clip Studio doesn't handle text as well. It does it for comics, like if you need to do text in like bubbles, speech bubbles, that's great. But if you need like big titles that are big block letters and you want to do something fancy with them in 3D, it doesn't have enough to it. So for something like that, I was using Pixelmator for a bit. It can kind of do it. Affinity Photo actually does a really good job. So I thought, okay, I've got it, and then I've got everything I need. Like Photoshop is completely covered for like a fraction of the price. You don't need Photoshop anymore. I think Photoshop has kind of met its match, and people are dropping it now because of how expensive they are. If Photoshop had have been $50 on their subscription, I might have done it and then split it with one other person. But for like $140 a year, no, it's not worth it. I'm not doing that. Especially when Affinity Photo does the same thing. It's just later. I'm going to open it up here. I'm going to see if I can share the screen. And it's 12:30. That's fine. So here you can see it's a little more colorful. Photoshop does this thing where all the tools on the left, it kind of grays them out. And here you can see it's all of this is much more colorful, which I kind of think is neat because it kind of color codes everything. It brings my eye to it. And this is Photo, right? I've got open Affinity Photo. It's 2 now, Affinity Photo 2, because they did this massive upgrade just last year. So now it's an upgraded version. I'm going to slide over here. Just real quick, I'm not gonna do anything too much here with this. So it starts with nothing, then you have to add like extra layers to it. I'm going to add 2. I'm going to start on the top one. And I'm not going to draw in too much, but just there's like a nice thick and thin. The pressure sensitivity to this is really nice. You can get like a really nice feel for this program. I'm not going to really be drawing anything too much right now, but I just want to kind of show a bit of an example on this. The one thing I do find odd that all the other programs do, and I think I've talked about this before, is layers. If I'm coloring something, I'm used to putting color underneath the ink, an ink line drawing. And Affinity does this weird thing where it puts it on top. It stays with inside the lines, and I don't know why it does that. So let's say I'm going to add another layer here. I'm going to work on the bottom one. Because when I first got it, I was looking for what do you call it? A reference, where you make it a reference layer. And I'm digging through, and apparently it doesn't do that. So if I go to the top layer, go to the one above it, and I add in color, and I think I can go some more. So it just automatically does it. But as you can see on the layers over here, it puts the color over top. It stays within the lines, but if I want to start adding some texture and shading and whatnot, see, it's sitting inside the line. So if I start drawing, like if I zoom into this, I think I've talked about this before, that you can see it leaves this little bit of white in between. And you can see that if it goes to print. So if I try to fill that in, I can't seem to do that. It just goes over top of that line. I have to drop this underneath. Now it will. All right, so you can play with it, and you have to just, it does a lot. This does both. This is both an artist program and a photo editing. So it does a whole lot, this program. Like I'm not even scratching the surface. Like it does a lot, but it's a pretty efficient program. Like this covers, it might not do everything that Photoshop does, because Photoshop's been around 4 times as long, but where it's at now, it covers about 2/3 to 3/4 everything Photoshop can do. And as an artist, you're covered on this. Like, you can do whatever you need to do. You can add brushes in, you can do painting, add titles, all that stuff. You can do it all in this program. There's nothing you can't do. And I'm happy with this. So as I said, and I've got Clip Studio and I've got Pixelmator, so I'm pretty much covered. So now that I have this, I am looking at Affinity Designer, which is vector-based, and that's where you do wireframing and you can bend it. I need to learn a little bit more about it. If I can learn more about it, I might buy it. Right now I can get it cheap for the iPad, and the nice thing is the iPad version has all the features that are in the desktop. It doesn't trim it down. So one thing where Photoshop failed is they put out this dumbed down version for iPad that's terrible. Yeah, Photoshop for iPad is gross. Don't even buy. I think you get it free with it if you buy the Pro. Get the subscription; it'll come with it. Fresco is much better. If you're an artist, don't go with Photoshop. Get Adobe Fresco. It's a lot better, but it's $10 a year for that. I had a friend of mine actually trying to reach me. I'll have to. Oh man, I'll have to call him back. I'll call him back after I'm done here. Hopefully, he'll still be up. So that was it. That was all I kind of want to talk about. I was kind of excited about these new programs. I probably won't get Publisher. Affinity has 3 programs: Affinity Photo, Designer, which is vector based, and then Publisher. But Publisher is really nice. It is beautiful, and I have a lot of fun with it. I never get any use out of it, practically use out of it. And I have Pages for Mac, which is kind of the same idea. It does magazine layouts and that kind of thing. It comes free with a Mac, so I don't really need it. It wouldn't be worth my money to get that. But yeah, if there's people out there looking for a program to start with, and you don't want to fork out for Photoshop, which I don't recommend anymore, anyways, look at Affinity. Affinity is a great program. Unless you're doing comics like Paul Pate, then get Clip Studio. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you. Again, I was just kind of thinking about starting to wrap things up pretty soon, actually. And I was talking a little bit earlier about Procreate Dreams, and I had it hooked up to my iPad and was going into Procreate Dreams. And I wanted to talk a bit about Affinity Photo. And because I had dumped Photoshop, and even though I have Clip Studio and I have Pixelmator, I was kind of looking for something else that could actually do what Photoshop did and substitute Photoshop itself. And Affinity Photo was it. When I started looking on YouTube, everybody's been talking about Affinity Photo, and it's like, I'm not paying for Photoshop anymore. I'm not paying $100 and something a year. Affinity they still have their Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale on right now. It's 40% off, flat rate. Pay it once, no subscription. You're done. It's a great program, and it's both for the iPad and the desktop, and they're identical. It's just like Clip Studio. There's not a dumbed down version of it. It's the exact same thing for both. And the iPad version is a lot cheaper. The iPad version, I think right now, like I paid 15 Canadian, and I think US is probably like $10 or something right now on their Cyber Monday sale. So if you're looking for something like that, I recommend it. If you're looking for a different drawing program, it's brilliant. So a little getting used to. It's a little different from Photoshop. As I was saying, it doesn't. This was demonstrating here is that it does layers a bit differently. It wants to put the color on the top as opposed to going underneath, which is a bit weird. It doesn't have reference layer, so and I'm not sure why it does that, but it's the way they wanted to make it different, and they did it that way. So it doesn't do like a reference layer; it just sets it on top. But there's ways around it. You can play around with it and still do it the way you used to. But yeah, so that was kind of everything. I kind of talked about it all. I opened up with what I've got planned for January. Talked about Procreate Dreams, talked about the Affinity Suite, and talked about keeping your apartment warm when it gets cold and trying not to pay a ton for it. I know. At Procreate Dreams is only $20 US. I mean, Canadian, it's closer to 30, but still, yeah, they have like the number, like you go on YouTube and type it in, everybody's doing demos on it. I'm going through because I'm still trying to learn it. There's a few things I need to figure out with it, but and it's still brand new. Like there's been some people kind of saying it doesn't do this, doesn't do that, like complaining a bit about it, but I'm like, give it time. They're just starting. Like they're going to be adding more stuff that they're already talking about what they're going to, well, they haven't said what exactly, but the fact that there's going to be more stuff added to the program. But if you like, you can do full, beautiful, like Disney style traditional animation in that thing. It's an incredible program. And I did a bouncing ball demo. Later, if you go back, you'll see that I did very quickly how to set up just animating a bouncing ball really quick. It's really easy, but yeah. So that was kind of the show tonight. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, I don't know what else to really talk about. I'm going to close this out unless somebody wants to see something in this or has any questions about it. It's sleep. All right. Well, thanks, Terry, for jumping in. It was nice to see you again. I'm going to find that on stream. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to phone a friend of mine back, and then I think I'm going to head to bed. I've been starting to try and get to bed a little bit earlier. I've been up to I started sleeping till almost 4 a.m., and I thought, no, I got to get to bed earlier. Even though I get home from work like 1:45 a.m., I got to start coming home and maybe just try just hitting the sack as soon as I get in, so I can get some proper sleep. But thanks, everybody, for hopping in. I'm going to close off and end the show. But thanks for checking in. Paul, we'll have to talk soon. And yeah, that'll be it for this week. We'll see if I can do something on Saturday as I'm giving some updates, and we'll go from there. So as soon as I can figure out how to end. Oh, there it is. I forgot how to use this thing already. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll talk to you all again soon. Cheers.